In this demo, we're going to refactor the classroom message out into its own view with its own controller. That will give us more flexibility to combine it with other views and use it in different places within the app. We're also going to continue to take advantage of the nested states I created in the last demo. Therefore, I'm going to start by opening the classroom_parent.html file. It's the view for the abstract parent state used to display classroom information. Since it's a parent state, it has a UI view directive that specifies where child views should be inserted. I'm going to add a second UI view directive to the file and give each of them a name. I'll first apply a name to the one we already have. I'll call it class info. I'll add the second directive right below it and name it class message. I now need to configure the child states to take advantage of the additional UI view, so I'll open app.js. We saw in the slides that in order to use multiple named views, we have to specify the views property on the state configuration object. I want the classroom summary state to use both of the named views, so I'm going to delete all of the existing properties except for the URL and paste in a new views property. The properties inside the views definition specify which controller and view template to use for each of the named UI views in the parent. For the UI view named class info, it will use the classroom summary controller with the classroom.html file. Similarly, for the UI view named class message, it will use the classroom message controller with the classroom_message.html file. Those two files don't exist yet, but we're going to create them in just a second. While I'm still in app.js, I'm going to reconfigure the classroom detail state to use the views property. I'll delete the existing template URL property and paste in the new property. Notice that this view property is much simpler than the one I just defined for the classroom summary state. Even though the parent view contains two UI view directives where I can insert child views, I'm only going to use one of them with the classroom detail state. Just because multiple UI view directives exist doesn't mean I have to use all of them. Here I'm just going to use the UI view named class info, and it will contain the markup in classroom_detail.html. The result of this configuration should look exactly like what was here before. It's just now been refactored to use a named UI view instead of a single default one. Let's now go add the files necessary to factor the class message into its own view and controller. I'll go to the controllers folder and add a new JavaScript file named classroommessagecontroller.js. I'll paste in the code for the controller. It's pretty simple. I'm injecting the state param service, which I then use to retrieve the classroom message and assign it to a property on the view model. We now need a view to display the message, so I'll add a new file to the templates folder named classroom_message.html. I'll paste in a very simple view. It just contains an H3 element that binds to the message property on the controller. I also added a little inline CSS to make it red, just so we can distinguish it from the previous code that displayed the message. I'll now go add a reference to the new JavaScript file in index.html. Since we've now factored the message out into its own controller and view, I need to remove it from the views that were previously used to display it. The first of those is classroom.html. I'll just delete the H3 element that binds to the message. I'll then do the same thing in classroomdetail.html. It has an H3 element at the top for the message. We're now ready to go back to the app and see how it all looks. I'll refresh and click the Classrooms link. I'll then click a teacher's name to activate a summary state. It looks just like we would expect. The information from the abstract parent state is at the top. The class info named view now displays the principal name, and the class message named view shows the message at the bottom in red. I'll now go back and click on one of the links to activate the classroom details state. This view looks just like it did before. However, the information at the top is being presented from the abstract parent state, and the list of activities is being inserted into the class info named view. We chose not to use the class message named view here. I now want to go back to the code and take one last look at our much more sophisticated state configuration. I want to reiterate that the params and resolve properties on the abstract parent state are inherited by the child states. Furthermore, they are accessible in all of the controllers used by the child states. What that means is that the value returned from the resolve property in the parent can be injected into both the classroom summary controller and the classroom message controller. The same is true of the params property. You can use the state param service in both controllers to access the classroom message parameter defined on the parent state.